The Galactic High Council chamber fell silent as the massive holographic display flickered to life, revealing a formation of ships unlike anything they had ever seen before. Admiral Krell, the most decorated military officer in the Empire's 10,000-year history, stared in disbelief at the approaching fleet. "Impossible," he whispered. "The humans were supposed to be primitive." Grand Emperor Darius VI leaned forward on his crystalline throne, his 8 eyes narrowing in concern. "How many vessels?" "Over 3,000, Your Magnificence," replied the communications officer, his voice trembling, "and each appears to be at least twice the size of our largest dreadnought." The Empire had ruled the galaxy for millennia, subjugating countless species across 20,000 star systems. Their technological supremacy had never been challenged until now. 3 standard months ago, Imperial scouts had discovered Earth, a seemingly unremarkable blue planet in a backwater spiral arm. Initial reports classified humans as a pre-FTL civilization, barely worth the Empire's notice. A small battle group was dispatched to claim this new territory, standard procedure for worlds of little strategic value. That battle group was never heard from again. Now the humans had arrived at Centaurus Prime, the heart of the Empire, with a fleet that defied comprehension. "They're hailing us," announced the communications officer. The Emperor nodded, and a human face appeared on the central display. The being looked deceptively simple, just 2 eyes, minimal protective exoskeleton, and strangely vulnerable skin. Yet there was something in those eyes that made even the Emperor shift uncomfortably on his throne. "I am Captain Thomas of the Earth Defense Force," the human said calmly. "We've come to discuss the unprovoked attack on our home system." Admiral Krell stepped forward. "The Empire claims all systems within its sphere. Your resistance was both futile and treasonous." The human's expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "We destroyed your battle group with a fraction of our planetary defense system. What you see before you is merely our first response fleet." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. "First response? There were more." "Preposterous," spat Admiral Krell. "No species could hide such military capability." "Our surveys." "Your surveys," interrupted Captain Thomas, "detected exactly what we wanted them to detect. We've been monitoring your empire for decades. You're not the first expansionist power we've encountered." On a secondary display, tactical analysis of the human fleet continued to stream in. Their ships utilized technology that Imperial scientists had theorized but never successfully implemented. Artificial gravity manipulation at a scale that allowed for reality distortion, energy weapons that could theoretically cleave planets in half, and defensive systems that seemed to bend the very laws of physics. "Impossible," muttered Krell again, his confidence crumbling. The Emperor raised a clawed hand for silence. "What do you want, human? Tribute? Territory?" Captain Thomas smiled without warmth. "Justice, accountability, assurance that Earth will never again face Imperial aggression. You come to our capital with a war fleet and speak of peace." Krell snarled. "We come with the capability for annihilation, but the preference for negotiation," corrected Thomas. "A concept your empire seems to have forgotten during its long reign." The tactical officer leaned toward the Emperor, whispering urgently. The Emperor's complexion paled to a sickly green. "Your Magnificence," the officer reported loud enough for all to hear, "human vessels have appeared in orbit around all 16 of our core worlds. They've neutralized our defensive systems without firing a shot." The chamber descended into chaos. The Empire's entire military command structure was suddenly paralyzed, facing an enemy that had outmaneuvered them on every level. Captain Thomas watched the pandemonium with the patient expression of someone who had expected this reaction. "The Empire has one standard day to evacuate all military personnel from the colonies you forcibly seized in the past century. Return autonomy to these worlds, and we'll consider this matter resolved." Admiral Krell found his voice again. "And if we refuse?" Thomas didn't answer directly. Instead, he nodded to someone off-screen, and the holographic display shifted to show a barren asteroid field. "This was the site of your battle group's destruction," Thomas explained. "We're transmitting the coordinates of similar demonstrations near each of your core worlds, uninhabited moons that no longer exist. Review the data at your leisure. The Emperor slowly rose from his throne. For the first time in living memory, a being from beyond the Empire had forced Darius VI to stand in respect. You could destroy us all, the Emperor stated. Not a question, but a realization. But we won't, replied Thomas, unless you force our hand. Humanity doesn't seek conquest. We've evolved beyond that primitive instinct that still drives your empire. We seek peaceful coexistence, but we will not be subjugated. The human's words hung in the air, challenging millennia of imperial doctrine that equated expansion with survival. Admiral Krell looked to his emperor, waiting for the order to rally their forces, to fight to the last ship against these upstart humans. Instead, the emperor did something unprecedented. He inclined his head in a gesture of acquiescence. The Empire acknowledges your terms, Captain Thomas. We will comply. As the transmission ended, the council chamber remained silent. The mightiest empire the galaxy had ever known had just been humbled by a species they had dismissed as primitives mere months ago. How did we not see this coming? Whispered a council member. The emperor settled back onto his throne, his ancient eyes reflecting a new wisdom born of humiliation, because he said quietly, we forgot the most dangerous truth in the universe. Appearances deceive, and assumptions kill. These humans hid their power until they needed it. They spoke of peace while demonstrating their capacity for war, and they demanded justice instead of conquest. He looked around at his advisors and commanders. Perhaps, the Emperor concluded, it's time for the Empire to evolve as well. In Earth's orbital headquarters, Captain Thomas signed off and turned to his commanding officer. They've agreed to our terms, Admiral. Admiral Rivera nodded. Let's hope they keep their word. Humanity has no desire for galactic war, but we've learned the hard way that peace requires strength. As Earth's first response fleet maintained its position, a new era dawned for the galaxy, one where humanity's unexpected arrival had forever changed the balance of power among the stars.